Hello, folks. Today, we are going to learn to code something new in Unity without using AI. And you might be asking, why am I making this? Well, AI isn't leaving us anytime soon. It probably is never going to leave. And knowing how to code without it is akin to owning your own means of production. You are the factory comrade. And the tools we will be using today are the internet and the Unity documents. Right now, AI models are cheap and easy to access, but soon they will be expensive and gated behind fancy company level paywalls. Do you know how much Google wants per seat for my effectively imaginary company to use Gemini? $35 per month per seat. That's crazy. That's so much money. And what is it going to get me? I already know how to code. Is it really going to be able to generate that much worth for my company? I'm pretty skeptical, which is why I don't have it. Vibe coding, also known as not knowing what you're fucking doing, will leave you at a disadvantage. If you cannot read and understand the code that it spits out, how can you make the code work for you, let alone work at all? But I know a secret. The vast majority of what AI was trained on, its abilities, if you will, are located on Google, Reddit, and even Stack Overflow for anyone to find and use. That's right, you never needed AI. In fact, you are superior. You have hundreds of trillions of neural connections, not tens of billions. You have three, four, maybe even five zeros if you like to flex on AI in neural connection. This is intended for not a brand new coder. I'm expecting you have a couple of CS classes. Maybe you're not that good at coding. Maybe you need a lot of help, but you are going to be expected to know some terminology, but I should explain a decent amount, and maybe with some internet sleuthing, you can figure the rest out. Let's start from the top. Unity uses C# as its programming language. C# is a ubiquitous programming language made by Anders Hellsberg and Scott Wilhelm and Peter Gold, and maintained and released by Microsoft. Wow, I'd like to apologize to those giants of programming for murdering their last names, except for Peter Gold. I'm pretty sure I got that one right. Microsoft hosts the C# documentation. Unity hosts the Unity documentation. Not all things in C# are supported in Unity, but that's an advanced thing and has rarely been a problem for me. It's come up like 2 times. Today we will be doing a coding problem involving grabbing all the objects in a scene with a certain tag, and then we are going to place a shape there with a number and a phrase we have stored in a custom data structure. If that sounded scary, it's actually pretty simple. Let's start with why you would want to do this. Since when I was learning, that was important to me. The reason to find a game object with a tag are without count. The most common use of this trick is to get a reference to something. Let's say you need a reference to a script or a game object or location. It's super and they need to be at runtime. This is just the best way to do it. I've used this to find specific objects for UI anchor points, especially when I needed to generate them on the fly and I can't hard code them or hard connect them using the Unity editor. But let's jump into it. Let's open up a simple 2D Unity scene, and unlike my usual videos that are entirely pre-scripted, well, pre-coded, since knowledge transfer rate and smoothness are far more important than displaying the entire work process, this video will be the full experience. It'll be me Googling things, me typing things into various other places, just to show you all that goes into doing this kind of thing. Our first step is going to be opening a Unity project. I'm going to be opening this project, but let's just take a quick look at how I made it. So new project, there is a oh, well, let's just deal with this. I haven't updated my Unity in a little bit. All of my editors have security alerts. I believe the security alert is a on-device data error. So basically, if somebody has access to your computer and can open this project, they can get it to spit out passwords that may be encrypted elsewhere. If they have access to your device, there's nothing you can do. They're going to get all of the data. But, you know, I will update that just to keep everything kosher. But what I did is I just did the 2D built-in render pipeline. We don't need to do anything special. Choose your organization, or in your case, it might be your account. Let's name the project like no AI in Unity. All right, and then make sure it's saved to a location. I'm going to be saving mine to my GitHub location because I'm going to be uploading it so everybody can see it, but you can save it wherever. But if you save it into your GitHub folder, you can easily update or upload it to GitHub and source control it if you intend to use this project. If you want to support this channel and you like what you hear, the best thing you can do is like and subscribe. You hear it every day. Now let's get back to it. All right. Unity is open. This may take you a little bit. Just pause the video, just wait for it to open up, but you should be greeted to something that looks like this. I have a few different custom things in my Unity. Mostly some of the windows are moved around, nothing really beyond that. But the first thing we're going to get to is we are going to make a custom data structure. So you know how like int has like all whole numbers? We're just going to make a custom data structure that holds some numbers. Well, not just numbers, but you'll see. We are going to make a data structure called shapes and names. I don't think that's a particularly good name, but it'll work. And then I generally like to include data structure at the end, just, well, data strut, just so I know that like, hey, this isn't a code, this isn't a script you should be referencing, it's a script you should be getting data from. It just helps with remembering shit. All right, let's wait for this to open. How long does this? All right, so we're gonna get rid of, don't make me do this right now. Okay, we're gonna get rid of mono behavior. We're gonna get rid of update and start. We also don't need any of this. Boom. This is like basically a normal ass C# script, not really using Unity. So we're gonna make a list of strings. Let's call it names. And we're gonna make a list of sprites. And we're going to call them shapes. Boom. We did have to add back the Unity engine and the system collections.generic. That has up here has the list, and Unity engine is sprites because we are storing a sprite shape. Alrighty. We may actually be turning this into a scriptable object, but for now, we are just going to leave it as this. We'll come back to that just because I want to show you how maybe more of my real progress goes. Just less curated. But this definitely it definitely will work as a scriptable object. It may work as just like a standard like data object. We'll see. Next step in our sample scene or whatever scene you want to have, we are going to add 5 anchor points to a canvas. So right click, we're going to make UI, and we're going to add a canvas. So adding canvas also adds an event system. A canvas doesn't work without an event system. Don't delete it. And then we're going to go out to UI, and well, we don't really need these anchor points. Don't need to be anything. They can be empty objects. So we're going to create an empty object. Boom. And then we want to make 5 anchor points. So let's rename this to anchor point. Assuming I can spell. Anchor point 1. And then we're going to click on it and hit Control D. Oh, right. I really should fix that. And then we're going to do that 3 more times for a total of 5. I'm going to rename these quick like because I like to do that just so I don't have to. It's my OCD probably. All right, now that we got our 5 anchor points, let's move on to the next part. We have our 5 anchor points and we want to make a new tag. So click on an anchor point or really anything, go down here, add tag. Boom, you see our tag list is empty, hit this little plus button and then type in, do we want to use anchor point for the tag? Yeah, that's probably fine. Anchor point, or let's call it anchor. I don't like making tags long. Anchor. Boom, hit enter or click save. So now we got our anchor tag. We can go here, we can tag, and we can anchor it. Boom, and now let's do it for all of them. So you click on 2, hold shift, click on 5, go to tag, anchor, and now they should all be anchor. You know, little tricks like that save you time. You can also move them as group and get funky wonky with like, oh, you can do like math and other bits and bobs like in this, so they'll all be spaced out like 5 or 10 or whatever you want. You should look into that. It's a good trick. Lastly, in the canvas, we're going to right click canvas. That means that'll be our it'll be the parent of what we're going to make. Right click on it, UI button with TextMesh Pro. If you don't have TextMesh Pro, import the essentials. You don't need the examples. They're extra fluff, but you may like them if you are a pretty big newbie. So we got the button. Let's drop down. You see this text TMP. We're going to change the word button to go. We could make the text green. Let's do that. Boom, it's green. Let's make the background black, or at least darker. Click on the button. That looks fine. Boom. What does our game look like? Oh, that's a teeny button. Let's make the button a little bigger. I'm holding control to kind of, actually, does that do anything? I don't think so. Yeah, oh, it makes the numbers more round. Okay, let's make the text a little bigger. Let's make it like 48. No, that's not big enough. Like 128? There we go. We got our big old go button. And let's take a moment and spread out our anchor points. So click on them, grab them, just move them around. Oh, don't do that. You want to make sure you're actually moving the anchor or the anchor point and not what is that? The pivots or the anchors, UI anchors. All right, that seems fine to me. Let's save that up. I can possibly save. You will. I think I've never lost significant progress on Unity, but you should just save because you will lose progress if you don't save. All right, let's get to the meat and potatoes. We want a script that searches a scene for tags, or a tag in this case, then gets the position of the game objects tagged in that manner, then places a shape there with some text. So we've got our data object that will be storing the text and the shapes. We're just probably going to be like doing circles or squares or something in different sizes. Don't worry about that. It's going to be lame. And then, we tagged all of the anchor points with the object. With anchor, so we can search for that. So how do we do that? Let's pretend we have no idea. So pick up your search engine of choice. You should probably be using Google. I know it sucks, but DuckDuckGo can be weird. So we're going to Google. Let's assume that we don't know how to place a game object, nor at runtime, nor do we know how to search via tag. If you Google how to place a game object in Unity using code, boom, we get that. We're going to ignore the AI. The entire point is to not use AI. AI is probably pretty decent for stuff like that. I'm just going to take a peek. Yeah, you don't want to be doing that. Nope, that's not right. This is right. So yeah, that's honestly just confusing. How do I shrink this? Really? No shrinky shrink? I hate it. Anyway, skip that. Let's click on this first one, creating a basic object from code in Unity. So if we read this, I'm well over the instantiate function. That is what we are looking for. You may not know that, so let's read more. But it only clones an existing object. That's great. We're going to be storing an object to clone. It can't just create one from nothing. So this is not what we want. So let's go back. I also consider this how to place a game object and using code a fairly poor search. It's missing the word we're looking for, and therefore the internet can struggle to give us the right answer because we're not asking it for the right thing. But the Unity documents are generally pretty good, and even when you ask wrong questions, you can get correct answers. Let's click on this scripting API game object. Boom. So we have, it's just talking about the object, game object, or thing in Unity code. Kind of scene, this is everything that's attached to game object, which is a lot. But this isn't what we want. We can see it here, but I would suspect that a normal or a novice programmer, which this is aimed at, would not be able to pick this out of the rubble, especially when it just says clone the original object and return the code. So we're going to scroll down here. We see Unity documents. That's always a good sign when I place object.instantiate. Like I've been saying, this is what we really want. So we can declare an object and instantiate it, which is a fancy way of saying we're going to create it at that location. And look at this. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different ways to create it at that location. So we could just instantiate at the object at the original. So that and all of these do different things. So this chooses like, where are you going to instantiate it? Is it in world space? And then is it still related to the parent? It's giving you choices here. It's like, okay, this is like, okay, you can instantiate it at this vector 3, and then you need to give this quaternion rotation. I hate quaternions, they're confusing, but you almost never give it a rotation. You just do 0. Which is easy. And it's like, oh, this one is like even more. You could attach it to the transform, make it a child of a parent at this position, at this rotation, using this object. This is pretty high level, or not high level. This is pretty like 900-foot stair. We're not getting in the nitty gritty details, but we'll probably be using this first one or this second one. But this is great. We found what we need. Now let's go Googling for the other thing we need. We need to figure out how to find a tag during runtime. So let's Google that. How to search a Unity scene for a tag. Pretty simple. How to search I might have already searched this before. We are going to skip the AI answers again, but it does have the right answer right there. So scripting, gameobject.find objects with tags. So that's great. Let's click on that. Boom. So this returns a string. We actually, or not a string. This returns a list. Well, it's probably not a list. It could be. What is it going to return? Doesn't matter. But it's going to return a group of things. We actually want to find every object with this tag, not just one object. That can be a little bit like you should always be tagging your main character with like main character or character, whatever, and then only one thing should ever really have that tag. Some objects are going to, or some tags are going to be tagged the same way on a bunch of different objects. Like if everything is tagged with enemy, you can't just search for the enemy tag. You have to search for everything with the enemy tag. Anyway, so this is great. We have found our two things. We have some reference code examples. We was like, okay, we can make, so what, gameobject.find objects with tags equal to respawn. So this is the nomenclature we need to use. So let's go back to Unity, right click. We're going to create a C#, and we are going to go, we're going to call it find tag. Boom, and let's open that script up. All right, opens right up. Let's get rid of this stuff. We might need it. So we want this to trigger when that button is pressed. We're just going to call this, we're just going to be void button click. This isn't going to work, but we will make it work later. Just practice. So when void button click is called, we're going to find a game object with a tag. So let's go back to that thing. It's like game object. So we just copy that, boom, and paste it in here. What do we need? We do not want to be looking for the respawn tag. We want to be looking for anchor, but caps matter. So let's go check our Unity project and make sure we are using the right capitalization. It's going to reload. Come in. Click on anchor. We spelled it with a capital A-N-C-H-E-R. Also, you can go down here and, oh, I think if you add a tag, you can like edit this one. No. Anyway, doesn't matter. All right, let's go back to our code and type in anchor. Boom. Remember how I said you're finding all of the things with the anchor tag? So let's make a list. List of game objects. Boom. And then we need, oh, it doesn't want, and we want a list of game objects named anchor points. Sure. That's probably fine. Generally, I don't like to name things so similarly, but because this is an example, we're kind of pigeonholed into this whole anchor point thing. So we want to set this equal to that. What's it mad about? Okay, so we made it a list. It is an array. So we need to make an array of game objects. Or we need to convert to a list. I'm going to convert to a list. I prefer lists, and converting is very important. Sometimes it's very easy to convert like strings or ints to strings and strings kind of to ints. Not as easy, but it's an important task. Lots of things. Sometimes you're casting to a game object and doing a whole bunch of fancy things. This is something I do fairly regularly. So let's cast it. Wonder if it'll give it to us. Sometimes it will just tell us what to do. No, it's not gonna. Oh well. You know, I said toString. There's also a toList. So if we go down at the end here, ignore that. Just hit dot at the end. So it's mad. It's like, hey, this is an array. This is a list. They are not the same thing. And they aren't. So we hit dot. And then we got a whole bunch of things. But we can type in to. And we see like, okay, we got toString, toList, toHashSet, toDictionary, toArray. Well, we already are an array. So that's not what we want. But we want toList. We just do that. We toss some brackets on the end. And boom, it's happy. I'm not entirely sure if this works, but we will figure that out. All right, let's go make the prefab or fabs. We're probably just gonna make a circle. So we're gonna right click in your assets folder. Now on bigger projects, highly recommend making a ton of folders. We already have a couple here. TestMap Pro makes its own folder. We also have scenes. Our scene is in its own folder. I like to split up like prefabs and art assets and scripts. And then in the scripts folder, I get specific, like, oh, these are all my data structures and these are my managers and what have you. So let's right click. We're gonna create. We are making a prefab. You can type in P. Oh, that did not work. Whoops. Where did the prefab hide? Here it is. Prefab. Let's call it circle. Let's double click it, open it up. So this is our circle. It's just an empty object. We're gonna right click. We are going to make a 2D object, a sprite, a circle. Boom, we got a circle. How big is it? Let's go back to our game. Let's just drag it out here. It's teeny. Let's make it bigger. So go back in here. Let's make it like 10 by 10. Boom. Let's try that. How big are we now? Well, we are 10 times bigger, but is that visible? No, let's make it 100. Damn flies. Yep. Hopefully that's not comically large, but one way to find out. Yeah, that's like perfect. Okay, cool. So we're gonna go to that. Oh fuck, I deleted my button. So we're gonna hit Control Z and then Control Z again. Oh, there we go. And if that happens to you, you can also go up here to edit and then undo history. It generally saves a pretty long undo history because like, what if you like delete something and decide it's a bad idea? Also, version control. I got a video on it. A version control is like big undo history. You can go back like days, weeks. I could pull up the original build that we uploaded for corralling cats. I'm not gonna, but I could. All right, here's what we're gonna do. So the data structure I made is a little limiting, but I'm gonna keep it limited on purpose. If you're watching this and you're like, hey, I want to challenge myself a little bit, convert this data structure into a scriptable object. Scriptable objects are pretty commonly data structures. Like a data structure is just like an idea of a thing. It holds data of the types you want. So like, hey, I'm holding a list of strings and a list of sprites. We actually are going to get rid of that thing. I'm not making a list of anything. We're going to have a one string and we're going to have a one sprite. It's also not going to be names. It's going to be like, what do I want to call this? We're just going to have like a greeting or something. So let's just call it like found text. No, we'll just call it greeting. That's nice. So greeting. And then this is just shapes. And we are going to set it equal to that prefab we just made. So let's have a thing. This is editing Aaron here, and I am making a fairly large mistake right here. We're going to watch this play out because it's important to see how I come to the correct answer after some mucking about. But basically, you're going to watch me try to put data in our data object. But what I want to do and what you'll see is I want to attach that data object to the main piece of code I'm using, and then I can use that data object or data container like I would an int or a string. But let's watch for now. To strings have quotes, you hit my battleship. Boom. Perfect. Oh, and then we're going to set this equal to that. Right. Why is that mad still? All right. In an effort to not change what we're doing here, we're just going to have the string hard-coded, and then we will choose the shape at runtime. Well, yeah, at runtime. So let's go over to the find tag script. And go to town. So when we click the button, we want to get all the anchor points. So we're storing all the anchor points in anchor points. Or, well, all the, whatever. Then we want to, let's comment this. Let's comment code this. Then we want to find the first one. Find them. Let's say find them in order. Find them in order. Then place the image or the game object and the text there. Boom. So we know we want to find them in order. We need a for loop. So for int I equals 0, I greater than anchor point dot length count. I can never remember which one's which. I++ for incrementing. And we got our body. So we found them in order. We're going to loop through this until I is greater than anchor points. And then there are no more anchor points. And we don't want it to be looking because it'll error out. So then we want to place a game object. So remember earlier, we can actually look at our thingy. We can see we want to instantiate it. So we go over here. We want to instantiate object. So let's just write that out. Instantiate, I always spelled this wrong. Oh, we can even see it's helping us right here. Boom. It's even giving us a guess. This does use a little bit of AI. I don't really consider this bad AI because, like, when it listens to your voice and transcribes it when you're trying to text somebody quick, or autocorrect. Those are all AI. NASA uses focused AI to scan the stars. It can be very useful. Just the LLMs aren't very useful. So let's do that. Well, we don't want to actually. Is that what we want to do? No. All right, so we want to instantiate it, and then we want to instantiate it based off that data structure. So we want to do, all right, let's comment code this. So we want to instantiate it at, we know we want to do we want to do that circle. So let's type in that circle, and then comment, or then let's do this. And then we want to place it at the anchor point position, but we want to place it at the first one. So we're going to do anchor points. Because we're in common code, it's not going to help us spell, but that is fine. Brackets at I. So that means I will increment up, 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 and we'll get a readout at each one. So that's great. So we want to instantiate it at that anchor point. Now, let's write this out for reals. After consulting the deep lore, I have made 2 mistakes on this shapes names data structure. So it's generally bad practice. So let's get rid of this. Get rid of that. Boom. Get rid of this. Boom. Get rid of that. And we need to add something up here called system serializable. Oh, that's the right brackets. Boom. Oh, and they both need to be public. Cool. Now Unity can see and read this, which is great. So we can actually use it. Huzzah. Now let's go use it. Because I think we're kind of working with a mediocre example of a data object, I just wanted to show you one from a much better example from my game Corralling Cats. Don't mind that hurting cats with it. That's the old name. So we have this Unity engine script, just plain old C# script. We have all of these data points that we store, and they're all under the class accessory info. So in cat info manager, where these accessories are being stored, each accessory gets its own accessory info. We are making a serialized field public list. Well, these are kind of redundant, but don't worry about that. Making a list called accessory field using, that is referencing this right here, and we're calling accessories. And then we're making a new list accessories info. Boom. Now, each of our accessories, as we loop through it and add everything to it, we can then go ahead and populate this data structure. So it's kind of like a scaffolding we're using for this. We're not really doing a great job of using it as a scaffolding in this. So we've got this set up, we've got greeting and shape, we got that. I'm making it an object. I'm not actually sure this works, but we're gonna find out. All right, I've unmessed it up. So we want to go public, name of the data structure, and the name, info, and then we want to make it equal to a new name of the data structure because we're we're effectively instantiating this class. At least I'm pretty sure what that means. But we're making our own instance of it for this class. So we've got that. We're gonna go info dot, and then we can go. We want what's the other one called? Shoot. Shape. And there it is. Boom. So we've got our shape, we've got our anchor point, but you see this is getting mad at us because it's a game object, not a vector3 or a transform. So we want to do dot, or we want to do, so this is a game object dot, can I do transform? Yeah, transform. Boom. So when button click is called, we are going to get a list of anchor points. We are going to iterate over the list of anchor points, and then we're going to instantiate the shape info at the anchor point locations. So let's go see if this works. So we're going to save it, and we're going to head to Unity proper. So in this button, we're going to click over here. We need to add the script to the thing. So let's just put it on the main camera because sure, why not? Boom. So we see that we got our info. We actually fill that in right here. So let's go ahead and do that. So drag our circle in, boom. And then greetings, nice catch. I don't know. Just put whatever you want there. So we're gonna go to the button. We're gonna hit the plus button. We're gonna drag over the main camera, boom. Drop down functions, game object. Find tag, I'm dumb. So yeah, find tag, and then we want to click on the, what did we call that? Shoot, I can never remember this stuff. We called it button click. Oh, it needs to be public. That's why you're not seeing it. Okay, now that it's public, now we're gonna go back to Unity, and then it's gonna reload, and then we're gonna do the same thing. So we got that, we got the main camera and drop down, find tag, And button click should be here somewhere. There it is. Boom. So we got button click. So now when we click that, it should click. Let's see if it works. All right, we're playing on the scene. Let's click the button, see what happens. Nothing happened. Let's go to the consoles. There's nothing in the console. Let's pause it. Oh, it did work? Why are we not seeing them? Well, it worked. That's great. Okay, they're all children. Are they teeny? Where the hell are these things? Hello? Okay, I don't know why we're not seeing them. Oh, I know why we're not seeing them. Well, that's annoying. Okay, I have an idea. So we're not seeing them because they're sprites and they're put on a canvas. They need to be images to appear on the canvas. Otherwise, things are fucky wucky. Well, we're in screen space overlay. Don't worry about it. Basically, we're in the 2D realm. We could make it world space. We're not going to do anything with that. What if I just pull these off? That might just work. Let's pop them off. Nope. All right, let's play. Oh, well, remember, folks, you can't make edits while it's playing. You don't know how many hours I've lost to that. Okay, boom. Save them. Are they still in about the right location? Okay, cool. Let's hit play. Let's click, and we have the same problem. Okay, so we're just gonna have to make them images. So we're just gonna hit Control Z a couple of times. Boom, they're back on the canvas. Let's save it, and then we're gonna go to the prefab. Okay, so we have the prefab. It says image renderer. Yeah, we're just gonna go. It says sprite render. We need an image, so just image. Oh look, they look the exact same. So for copy, just copy that and paste that and delete the sprite renderer. And by that, I mean remove component. Oh yeah, there's no sprite in this, so we can't see it, but it should work. So save, let's hit play, recompile, go. Hey, we got him. All right, we are missing the messages. So let's go back and do that. This is gonna be a little bit more annoying. We're gonna short circuit it. So there are two ways to do this. We could go into the circle, which this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go into the circle and we're gonna right click and we're gonna go to UI and we're gonna add a text mesh pro. That's the much easier way to do it. The much harder way to do it would be to go into find tag and then instantiate as a child text into that location, attached probably to the shape. That's a little bit harder. If you want to challenge yourself, I'd highly recommend doing that. It shouldn't be too hard. And if you do have questions, I will have my Discord linked in the channel, and I respond to nearly every comment. I read like all of them. So if you need help, just explain what's happening, maybe link to some images, whatever you need, I'll be able to help you. Navigate your way to the prefab circle. Go here, right click what I said earlier, UI, text, and then we want that blank. So let's just make that blank. Actually, let's put in fail here. We're going to replace this. How big is this text? Like it can't be that big. Let's click on this and hit to play. We can't even see it. Where is it? It's some of the canvas, little canvas. That's funny. You super can't see it. It's there. That's funny. Okay, let's take a moment. Let's go back to the circle. Let's make that canvas 36. I truly don't like having canvases like that, but it's not. All right, I figured out the problem. Okay, I didn't figure out the problem, but I know how to fix it. So something goes weird with that root canvas. Sometimes they are messy, and that's one of the reasons I don't like them. So this is where our circle's gonna spawn. This is our text. I made it gigantic. So let's like zero that out, and then let's shrink it back down to like normal size. Boom. All right, so we're gonna hit play. And we hit go, and we can see fail. Well, the circle needs to be in front. I'm going to reorder them. Give me a moment on that. So hit stop, go to here. Okay, boom. This order actually does matter for quite a few things. If you're having weird layering issues and things aren't behaving properly, like now fail is over. Let's make fail a little bit smaller. Let's do like 64. Let's make our circle a little bit bigger. Oh, it's already huge. Let's do like 300. Okay, and then we're going to go back to find tag, and we want to. So in this, we want to grab that anchor point because that's our game object. So we're going to copy this whole thing. We're going to drop down, paste it, and we're going to do dot get component. So get component. Boom. We want, that's not the right thing. That's also not the right thing. There we go. We want to get the Text Mesh Pro component. I think it's this one. Okay. And then this, and then we want to do dot text, I think that's right. I always mess this part up. And then we want to set it equal to you sunk. Oh no, we want to set it equal to info dot not s greetings. Boom. All right, let's see if that works. It should, I think. Came in. Let's hit play. Let's hit go. Why did we only get one? That's funny. Let's see why it's mad. Okay, well, that's not helpful. So it doesn't like what we did. Oh, you know why it doesn't like what we did? Well, actually, why the hell doesn't it like what we did? We just said info dot greetings. It only worked for 5. Let's have it print I. Want to see what it's doing. Let's go back. Wait for it to recompile. Okay, so it prints 0 and then breaks. That's good to know. Interesting. Why is it was, and it's only doing anchor 5. Wonder why. So it's getting anchor point at I, get component, test mesh pro, the text part of it, greetings. Oh, is it even working? Hold up, I didn't even check if it's working. That's probably your issue if it's not working. Yeah, it's not working. Okay, good. So that's good. So that means our initial text isn't being overridden. So that means there is something wrong here. Let's go figure that out. Now I'm going to be Googling to do this. So we want to Google how to get, actually, what do we want to Google? I think we want to Google like how to get the text in TPM. Let's type that out, text mesh pro Unity. The tag. Yeah, let's see if that works. I don't know if that'll work. Here we go. Access Text Mesh Pro through script. Let's go. So we click on this. I'm trying to do that. That's our problem. Okay, private, blah, blah, blah. TPM.text. Okay, so that's probably our fucking problem. We need to be doing TPM_text. Let's see if that works. How old is that? 2018. That's not that old. Oh, okay. Well, don't worry about it. It probably works. One way to find out. TPM. Oh, yeah. There we go. _ text. Okay. And he also does TPM.text. Well, let's see if this works. It's not yelling at us, but it could be deprecated because it is 7 years old. It looks like it's deprecated. Maybe it's TPM Pro. That was the thing, right? Let's go back to Google. Let's look for something newer. Public TPM text. We have using TPM Pro, public TPM _ text. Maybe it is TPM. What's the difference between text and text element? Well, that's not gonna work. Oh no, I did that. What does it have access to? Text, get set. Like that's what we want, right? What if it just is borked? Print. What does this return? And what does this return? So we know this second thing right here. This should return fail. That would be my expectation. This should just return like a game object or something. But if either of these two are missing, and then let's make sure it actually runs because we know those two don't work. Or we know this last line does not work properly and causes us to crash out. So let's hit play. Let's hit go. Okay, that's new. Okay, so we got 0. Oh yeah, we set to that. And then okay, anchor point 5. This did not work. Oh, is that an empty? Is that null? It's null. Okay, we have found our problem. I thought I could set that in editor. I guess not. There are turkeys about. Okay. Oh, that's the problem. I'm an idiot. Okay. So here's the problem. You see this anchor point? There's nothing here. There's only a rect transform. And then when we hit play, it'll break here, but don't worry, it'll print the 1. We hit play, and then we make a circle clone with circle and text. So we're looking at anchor 5, and it's going, hey, there's no TPM element. Yeah, no shit. There's no TPM element. There's nothing here. We need to go down 1, 2, 3 things. So we need to use, instead of get component, we need to like get component in children. So there's a few different ways we can do this. Let me figure that out, what the best way is. All right, good news, super easy fix. So I changed get component to get component in children, searching for that TPM text with the bracket boys and the dot text because we want the text element, and we want to set equal to greetings, which we set out in the editor right here. So that was easy. So we're gonna do that. So type all that in. Save that shit. We're gonna give it a print. Also, good idea when you're building a game, you're testing a game, you should be filling it with prints and bits and bobs, but that shit does cost overhead and upkeep. You do not want to ship your game with that stuff. Well, obviously, you want debug and crashing stuff, but you know your game better than I do. So we're gonna hit play, and we're gonna hit go. Nice catch. Now we're done. That took a while. Also, I was lollygagging and waiting for things to load and looking at other stuff. Don't worry about that part. So if you want to take it to the next level, I want you to do 2 things. Ditch this whole data structure thing and make it a scriptable object, and then go ahead and change the nice catch, make them all unique, maybe random between a few, dealer's choice. And if you need help with any of that, I can help you. Hit me up on Discord, ask questions in the YouTube comments, whatever you need. See you around.